Hello. Welcome to a very special episode of The Wrong Cat Died, live from BroadwayCon 2025. This is the 10th year. By being in our audience today, you are part of a live recording of the podcast, so please feel free to laugh, applaud, react, and I'm going to give time at the end to ask questions, so get your questions ready. Make sure you're also following us on the Broadway Podcast Network and The Wrong Cat Died for our latest updates of what's to come. So let's go. Let's do this one. All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for being here. I'm excited to have the cast and creative of Cats and Jellicle Ball here. Before I have you do introductions, just maybe show of hands and yells, who saw the production? There you go. Pretty much everybody. All right. Let's start with introductions.
Hi, I'm Sidney James Harcourt, and I played the Rum Tum Tug of War. I'm Dudley Joseph Jr. I played Monkey Strap.
Hey everybody, my name is Bill Rausch, and I, along with Jalen Livingston, directed Cats the Jellicle Ball.
I will say, since we'll prep, but we do have another panelist coming, and when they show up, when Silk shows up, we're all going to stop. Silk's going to run way down. We're ready, so give them the best applause, attention, like, let's own it, and let's make sure that they have the best welcome. And Silk was Misophones. So. All right, so let's start. Obviously, this was a massive hit, but this was multiple years in the making. So, Bill, let's kick it off with you. Walk us through the journey from where the idea came from to actually getting it on stage at the Marriott.
Absolutely. Apparently, this idea started over 20 years ago. I say apparently because I thought it was just a short number of years, and my husband was like, nope, you've been talking about this for 20 years. And then a friend came and saw another friend and said, yeah, you've been talking about this for over 20 years. So my husband was right, as always. The idea started by thinking about cats in the context of the queer community. And I had begun to think about Grisabella as an older gay man in a bar, in a gay bar. And I thought that would be very powerful. But then I actually spent more and more time with the material and realized, of course, it's not a bar, it's a ball. And Grisabella is not an older gay man, Grisabella is a trans woman. And I began to collaborate with an incredible team. Our co-choreographer, Omari Wiles. He brought in our co-choreographer, Arturo Lyons. Jalen Livingston joined as a co-director. And actually going way back to the earliest days, Josie Kearns was our gender consultant and our dramaturg. And she is brilliant. And so we began to dream up the specifics of this production during the pandemic. And we spent a whole year going through the material, listening to the songs, talking about how it would make sense in the context of ballroom. And we finally got up the courage to begin to share it with people at the Really Useful Group at Andrew Lloyd Webber's company. And that was a beautiful, long collaboration to get to the point where they could approve of the project and say yes and let us move forward. We did, how many? A bunch of workshops. I think we did 2 full workshops, 2 choreography workshops, and a music workshop. So we had 5 workshops before we even went into the rehearsal for the first day. So there was lots of love, lots of care from the whole creative team and from many actors, including the 2 amazing artists to my left. And I'll pause there.
Yeah. So when were your involvement? Which workshop? When did you jump into this project?
I came in, I think, on the last, is it the second workshop before the last dance workshop? Mm-hmm. I wasn't brought in for the dance workshop. I don't know why. And that's when I started with it.
Same. I was brought in for the second workshop. I remember we auditioned together, and the funny thing about Sydney is you had a pair of shoes that you You had Louis Vuittons, I believe?
I had some Louboutins, and I told them, I was like, I still have the receipt and the stickers inside the shoe, and I'm only keeping them if I book. And I wore them the opening night.
So I want to talk a little bit about the merging of kind of the theater world and the ballroom world, because we have a mix of experience from this, and you had it in cast such a wide range. So in the early phases of that, how did you balance the cats, like well-known 40+ years of musical theater, and then the ballroom culture that kind of really brought a whole different essence to the show?
I'll start, but I want to hear what you guys say to that. Our mantra throughout the whole process was any choice we made as a creative team had to serve Cats the musical, and then had to serve ballroom. It had to be true to Cats, and it had to be true to ballroom. And if we had an idea that we thought was great ballroom, but it didn't make sense in Cats, or great for Cats, but it didn't make sense in ballroom, then it was the wrong choice. And we had to keep pushing ourselves. And that's part of why we took so many years to develop it, and all those workshops, and incredible input from so many people to keep finding those choices that struck the balance. And the casting, of course, we had musical theater greats in the show. We had ballroom great artists in the show, and we had people who, a handful of people who bridged both worlds. And I'm gonna let my colleagues talk about that.
Yeah, I would be one of the bridges. So mainly musical theater is something I've done for years regionally, and moved to New York City to kind of pursue my dream to be on Broadway. And then in Buffalo, New York, where I was born and raised, in 2011, I joined the ballroom scene in Buffalo, and that was just something that I found to be just like a extracurricular hobby, and never imagined that the two worlds would merge. And so at the time, I happened to be a part of the House of Orici, so our co-choreographer Omari actually is my ballroom house father, and so it was just wild. During practices, he would use the overture of the Jellicle, Cats, the overture in the beginning, and try to figure out, during practice with all the Vogue Femmes, that's kind of the form of dance you see Victoria do, or Tumble Brutus, which is different than Old Way, which is what you see Skimbleshanks do in the show. So anyway, he would use the Vogue Femme styling to try to figure out how to accent the beats in the overture, which I thought was incredible. But for me, I found that there are a lot more similarities between ballroom culture and musical theater. In a ball, you have a theme. You have all of the categories, whether it be runway, body, performance, realness, all of them have a theme, and you have to come as a character, if you will. So you come up with an effect that's centered around whatever it may be. For example, House of Lin recently had a ball that was themed after The Wiz. So all the runway girls had to bring it as a character, and so some came as like a poppy flower, right? Or some came as Dorothy or Toto, or somebody brought it as the taxi, which is incredible. So I find that that sense of creativity and ownership of character and stuff like that, it's no different in ballroom than it is in musical theater. So I think that's what the two, it just blended. So the two were able to cross. And then for me, from a character standpoint, I looked at Monkey Strap as more as a narrator. I don't think he's interested in being the Jellicle choice. And that's similar to a commentator or an MC at a ball. And so they're in charge of making sure everything runs smoothly. We move from one category to the next without a hitch, and then also that everyone in the room gets their moment to shine. And so for me, that's what I looked at. I had the fortunate blessing of, being around Junior LaBeija, icon Junior LaBeija, who was, was the first person to say the category is, which is major. And so to borrow from him and then look at other iconic commentators that he passed the mic down to, like MC Deborah or Jack X Mizrahi, which is now the founding father of Gorgeous Gucci, looking at all of them, I was able to pull some inspiration from ballroom to make sure at least my track was giving reverence to that culture.
I would say I was more on the musical theater end of things coming into this. However, I did have voguing experience, or some may say nogging experience, though I was trained by people from Extravaganza, because I moved here very young and immediately started going out to dance clubs at night. I came here as a dancer and I just loved going out to dance. And at 2 a.m. at Limelight or Hero Ballroom is when the dancers would come out to play, and I learned so many different styles there, including Vogue Femme, including Old Way, and just kind of covered it into my, everyday effect. I find that there's a similarity in the world of, there's many similarities obviously between ballroom and musical theater, but one of them is when you go to an audition, you've got to walk in a look that's going to get you noticed, it's going to be appropriate for what you're trying to achieve, and then they teach you a combo, and then you start competing against the other people in the room, and then they start making cuts down to however many people they're going to decide between, and then you're going to get that phone call and you got the trophy or you didn't. And that feeling I feel is very similar in the balls that I go to. I'm part of the House of Arici right now, and when I've walked balls and when I've been to them, I've noticed it's the same thing. You're waiting, there's that same nerves before you're going to do the combo and what you're going to do, and you're in front of a judging panel just like in a Broadway audition. So I do find the worlds, especially for the dancers, to be very similar.
There's a lot of overlap with the family aspect of the Jellicles and the ballroom family, but also the competition, that the cats are all competing for the joke of choice. There's also the competition in the ballroom. But talk to me a little bit about houses, because what I loved in the playbill, I noticed that each cat was in a house or was discussed about that. How did that come to life? Like, what were those conversations like during the workshops to figure out who was in the House of McCavity or these other houses that kind of formed in the production?
They kind of sprang up out of the workshop environment. One thing that Bill and Jalen were incredible about was creating an environment where ideas could thrive and nothing is out of bounds, literally. And you hear people say that sometimes and they don't mean it. They're like, no, I'm sorry, guys, we gotta stop, we gotta move on. And that was not a thing with us. It'd be like, no, if this is a problem and we think it is, if it's not serving ballroom, we've got to discuss it. And so a lot of actors who, if you're not working at the time and you're in the room, would be making up their chants and for their house. I started a little Kiki house with Victoria and Tumble Brutus and Mistopheles because we all sit and watch the retrospective together. And so we decided that we're a Kiki house. And so there's little things that we do that are known or unknown about the house world. And what do you?
Yeah, well, again, I think it was funny from an outside perspective. Look, as Monkey Strap, I was watching, well, who's affiliated with who, or who's cheering, who's happy when someone gets their 10s, right? Or for example, Cassandra, that's my favorite moment, is when Jenny Annie Dots is clearly the house mother of the House of Dots, and Cassandra enters to walk Virgin Vogue. And it's interesting to watch who was happy about that and who wasn't so happy about it, But moments like that, I echo what Sydney said, is that I believe Bill and Jane created such a safe space where we could offer, provide offerings to say, hey, this is how it would happen in ballroom, or, where is the drama? Where's the shade in the background? Where's all the noise, that happens in a ball? Because it's, for me too, when I look at, there's a YouTube channel I would encourage everybody to, spend some time on. It's called Ballroom Throwbacks, and they record a lot of ballroom footage. And so you can see, if you don't have the ability to attend in person, it's a great way to kind of look at the highlights. And I spend so much time zooming in the background to see, oh, they didn't see that, But then you find that's, I think, how also alliances are made. So you see someone do something on the runway that moved you, and then that person becomes your friend, and then it ultimately says, oh, hey, why don't you come to practice and be a part of a house? And I think we maybe applied that same sentiment to the workshop as we were building a story with Bill and Jalen.
I just to add quick, I agree that it was very organic through rehearsal. There were some things that were just clear in the text, right? Mungo Jerry and Rumpeltease are a pair. So them having their own house. Bombalurina and Demeter sing about McCavity, so it made organic sense that they would be in the house of McCavity. So we kept looking at the text and then kept discovering with the actors in the room. I just want to give some props to the people who are in full costume today.
So Bill, that's the perfect kind of segue to my next question, which is the flip of that is there's a lot, I'm sure if you ask anybody out here, there are a lot of theories and opinions on the backstories of characters. I've got almost 100 episodes discussing that with people. And it's not universally agreed upon. There's a lot of kind of like, it could be this way, they put it that way. So there are some that are clear in the text, but there are a lot that aren't. So did you go back to any of those theories, or did you try to have that happen organically in the workshop?
I think that the production history of Cats was one of our sources and one of our foundations. So not only what is the text, what is the score, but what is the kind of received tradition of this amazing musical over 4 decades plus. So yes, I'd say it was an influence.
Okay. Since we brought up, we do have some amazing people in full Cat, but you all did not do the Cat's costume. So can you talk about the decision to be not in Cat and to have a different, like a very different, but really, really incredible and cool costumes and wigs especially that kind of went with the production?
You want me to answer that? Well, yeah. We knew from the get-go that our cast were going to be playing human beings, not cats. And we did for a little while. We talked about, well, what if it's a ball, but the theme of the ball is to be dressed up like a cat? But then we thought, if we did that, then nobody would know that they were human beings. They would think they were cats because they were dressed up like cats. So we wanted to keep the feline spirit as alive as possible, and Queen Jean, our brilliant costume designer, Queen Jean and her team made so many really sharp, really subtle sometimes, and other times really overt choices to lean into the feline in terms of material, patterns. So everybody had some cat-like element in what they wore. It was really, we spent a lot of time on the costumes. And the crazy thing about Queen is the costumes kept changing even during the run. Like we opened, it was beautiful, but she kept making improvements. Wouldn't you say? Like
yeah.
it just kept growing. It was remarkable.
How was it for you all? I mean, you took off half your costume most of the show.
I'm a Sphinx cat.
Yeah. But I mean, again, embodying a character that has history of, again, 40 plus years of this history, but then taking that new spin on it, but keeping some of the truth to Tugger and Morgan Strong.
So there's obviously, everyone in this room knows, there's a ton of lore with cats from around the world. There's so much art. There are so many relationship dynamics that people have written about and theorized about. And so as you do when you're an actor, you Google your character's name and do a deep dive into everything, and you find out that this is my brother. Mm-hmm. And you find out that, is there something between Mistopheles and Rum-Tum Tugger? Is it unspoken? And one of my favorite moments, and this doesn't necessarily have to do with us being cats versus not cats, but it does have to do with cat lore. And it was after the first preview, Mistopheles and I, finish Magical Mr. Mistopheles, and then we come up and grab hands, look at the audience, and then we walk up. And Jalen came over, I hope this isn't a spoiler. Jalen came over and whispered to me, and he was like, hey,
So tomorrow's show, I want you to kiss Mistopheles. Let's just see what happens.
And needless to say, after the reaction of the kiss, which this one always watched from upstage, it was so insanely electric. It's that moment when you give the fandom, and especially the queer fandom, what they want, that it exploded. The roof came off the place, and of course, we're like, well, obviously, we're always doing that. And that's how the lore informed a choice that we made.
Yeah, so we were at the second performance. Alan and I were there, and we saw that, and the roof went off. I mean, that place, everyone was there. But that's also probably the #1 fandom. If you read any Cats fan fiction, it's all about Tugger and Mistopheles. It's 100%. So, but Dudley, I want to hear about you because I heard an evolution of the ending because you have quite a way to close the show when everyone does their last walk. So how did that start and then end up to this like amazing piece that everyone got to witness?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, there was a moment during the workshop when we were building the show that we identified that the Gumby cat in the beginning was LSS, which in ballroom terms that's Legends, Statements, and Stars. And so what typically happens in a ball is that is the first thing that happens. A specific beat happens, it's like dun, 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 dun. When you hear that, you're running into the building because you know things are gonna start. And normally the MC goes around and picks out who's who in the room. So they'll call out the legends, they'll call out the statements, they'll call out the stars. And so I remember Bill and Jalen identifying that Gumby Cat, Monkey Stripes first song, that's what that is. And I don't know what made me think about it, but I just happened to run into Jalen and I had an idea. I was like, hey, wait a minute, what if our curtain call was LSS? Because we don't have an LSS moment identifying all of the cats, and then also because things move so quickly, at the end of the show, it's a way for everyone to remember who was who. And so Cooper, our associate director, also had the same idea as well. And so together, tried to figure it out. And so I think it was I don't think, it was our first preview. I got an instrumental and I was like, okay, so we're doing this, all right. And so throughout the workshop leading up to that though, it wasn't like that was the first time I heard the music, but leading up to that, what I did was, in the shower, I would be like, okay, rum to the rum tum tugger, the rum to the tum, okay, yeah, that works, all right. Or I would be like, I want to see Elizabeth Jones, I want to see, and I would just start to play on words, and then throughout the workshop, I would come to them, each one of them would say, okay, this is what I came up with, do you like it, definitely opening Pandora's box, because some people just were like, no, change it, But it was cool, I found it as like a little bit of a challenge for me, but I will not lie, I think the first time we did it, I was scared. I was like, vocally, I don't know how I can sustain this, and I think we did talk about it. We talked about maybe recording it, possibly in case I was, a little fatigued on a tuto shea, my God. But I don't know, it just something about it. It was just incredible to see everyone go up. Like Victoria, when I started to chant for her, she would go crazy. So thank God we didn't record it because I just needed to play. But yeah, that was my little fun thing that we did. But I think Mistopheles is here. Yeah. I want to see you walk that one way. I want to see you walk the one way. I want to see you walk that one way. And hold that pose for me.
Oh, greatest.
Welcome, Sil. I don't know how to follow that. But So do you want to do a quick introduction?
Yes. Hi everyone. My name is Robert Silk Mason. I'm 25 years old. I was about to say 24. I just turned 25 in December. I am so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah.
Who'd you play?
Oh, yes. I played Magical Mr. Mustopheles. The category that my character walks this one way.
So let's go. I think that's a great spot. Before we have a game we're going to do in a little bit here, and then I want to have audience questions. But let's talk a little bit about the actual categories and how you merge some of those into the show. How did you where were the ones that were obvious, and where were the ones that you had to kind of think a little bit more through?
Mustopheles being runway, we knew from the very beginning. Right away. And Omari and Arturo knew exactly who should play Mustopheles. So it was all very clear.
And I'll say during the process, I don't know if many of you know this, but I got to work with an illusionist to do a lot of the magic tricks that I did, and to incorporate that within the production, within ballroom, and merge that together was just so exciting and so crazy, because I was like, first of all, I've never done magic in my life. So to be able to learn it firsthand, it was such a magical experience, yeah.
I would say one of the hardest ones in terms of how long it took us. What's that? Macavity labels. That came really late in the game. It was definitely after the second workshop, I think. Yeah, it was late. And again, it was how do we find something that makes sense in a ballroom context, that's true to ballroom, and that is the most vibrant choice we can make for cats.
And it really was a crux of the story. Labels became this turning point for the show. It wasn't just how do we make this fit? It was how do we also make this a dramatic theatrical entertainment that has stakes? And labels really became the vehicle for that, which you would never expect,
Absolutely. The fact that Macavity had stolen the outfits that they were wearing, and the police came in, and that's how Deuteronomy ended up getting taken out of the room, how Deuteronomy disappeared. A lot of things fell into place once we found the category of labels.
And that came from this incredible experience. I'll never be able to say it enough, and I've never experienced it before in my career, of having two directors who were willing to let everyone in the room talk about, no, this doesn't make sense. The cops wouldn't come in like that. They wouldn't do this. They wouldn't, why are we throwing the bags? No. It shouldn't be that person that grabs it. It should be, and I've never been in so welcoming an environment where every actor is a real part of this theater troupe, and we just made the story work.
I just want to say one thing about the really useful group, about Andrew Lloyd Webber's company. It was thrilling to have the show be so well received. We extended 3 times. It was joyful and moving, but I just want to pay a moment to respect the fact that Andrew Lloyd Webber, as a living composer, still at the height of his powers, creating new shows, took the risk, and his team took the risk to let us do something so radically different with that material. And between that and Sunset Boulevard right now on Broadway, I just think that Andrew and the organization have my utmost respect for being willing to take risks to have a new life and a longer life potentially for any given title.
I think, I've had the fortune of interviewing almost all of you. The invitation's still welcome here. And so we've had chances to talk, but throughout the production, and so now you have a chance to look back. I mean, it was a risk. There was a lot of buzz around it, but also unknown. And then you had 3 extensions, and you get to now look back at this. what's it like hearing and knowing all of the reaction and the incredible, I mean, sold out runs, and to be able to kind of, from when you started to this unknown to where you are today, of this huge success?
I'll say for me, I'll start because being a young performer is hard, especially living in New York City. I do have a very soft voice. I went to Juilliard for dance. I graduated in 2022, and my senior year I also had COVID 3 times. And I really didn't know what I was gonna do. I was like, if my health is gonna continue to be like this, then I don't really know what's gonna happen. Of course, like after school, like more things was able to work for me. But once I auditioned for Cats, like I literally auditioned for Cats. It was like a pre-audition before the actual audition. There was like a video submission thing that I guess didn't end up, whatever. And then they were like, oh, let's do it in person. And I was like, okay, work. That works very well for me. And I went in, and I would say from that moment, I didn't know what to expect. But once I was in there, I think I was laying in bed actually, and I got the email, and I was like, oh my God, my life is literally gonna change. And once I continued to, I would say it took me a while, and still sometimes to this day, to calm my thoughts down and allow myself to just be an artist and grow and learn how to, sorry, I'm getting emotional.
It's all right.
But just continue to be myself, no matter what's going on. And this production really did that for me.
Bravo.
I was able to really just step on stage full force, no matter what was going on, to share my love for my art and my identity for who I am, and for them to love me and open up a whole new home for me was, it means a lot. And I would say thank you, Bill. Thank you, Dudney, and everyone else on the cast, but no shade. Sydney has been my rock. Like outside of Mustaphalis, like he's really been an amazing mentor for me. And I couldn't be more grateful for that. And to be on this panel and to be able to say this, I really am so grateful.
For me, the audience reaction, similar to what Silk said, there are 3 things I wrote down. The first moment, I think leading up to our first preview, I remember in my dressing room, I was like, is this a cult? Because I'm sitting, I'm like, I think this is really good, but I'm not sure. And so we had our first performance, which was for the Kiki scene, which is all the younger, which Silk is the mother of the house, Royal House of Silk. And so the younger scene, they came, and that reaction was so loud and energetic and just incredible that I remember thinking, we need in-ears, because I can't hear the cue. I don't know what's happening. I've also never had this wall of energy and sound hit me before in my entire life. And so that was like, oh no, this is not, we on to something. All right, let's go. And so that was the first thing. And then the second thing I had to try to, in regards to crowd reaction, is getting used to celebrities being present. That for me was, I'm just a regular old guy from Buffalo, New York. And I just, I love to cook, I love to travel, I love ballroom, that's it. Like, And so once we started to see people that were coming in and judging, I remember.
And you always knew.
I knew, oh yeah.
Nobody in the cast would know.
I was the only person that would know who was in, especially for judging, I was the only person, so that's probably what it was. And then I would find myself with this slip of paper, the one I remember was two. The first one was Naomi, and that was somebody that the first femme queen and trans woman to be on in front of the world in America's Best Dance Crew on MTV. And she got so much heat from that experience, but anyway, she paved the way, right? And so for her to be a judge, and then the second was Cynthia Erivo. When I saw Cynthia Erivo on that slip of paper, y'all gonna have to call somebody else because I can't do it. And so I remember that reaction, but I was reminded, I think Jalen was like, well, they are our guests, also they're human, just like you, and they want to enjoy and have fun too, so like relax. And so that was cool. And then the third crowd reaction that I thought was actually interesting was Moments of Happiness, Act 2. We have a slideshow that pays a lot of reverence to the pioneers and icons and founding parents of the ballroom scene, past, present, future. And so for me, I remember one performance, we got to be in the space, but not necessarily in the action because it's mainly Syllabub and Old Deuteronomy on the runway. And so for the moment, you can kind of just tuck away in the corner and look around and see who's in the house. And I remember seeing people getting overcome with emotion, and it was just beautiful to see also that side of the piece where, yes, we were having all of these like fan clacks and yes, and hand waves and snaps, but then also a moment of reflection and reverence for, the ones that have paved the way in order for us to do what we did. So, the crowd reactions were everything. They were everything. Seeing both sides, it really just meant that we were doing it at the right time and where we were supposed to be.
I've never auditioned for something or been in something. So Tucker's category is realness, and I found through the show that I have been walking realness since I was a child. In middle school, people telling me, don't wave like that, you shouldn't wear that, why are you walking like that? And growing up in the Detroit area, I learned if I didn't want the wrong kind of attention, these are the things I shouldn't do. I just didn't know that I was being trained in realness. And then in the Broadway scene, you're coming up, you're generally not just as a gay person trying to be yourself in the ensemble, you're trying to reflect heterosexual norms. And so again, in the acting industry, while I was committed to being an out gay person, I also was steeped in this realness. And so to get on stage in Cat's Jellicle Ball and have the audience truly give us a wall of energy unlike anything, the only other person who's experienced it is Beyonce. Like, that number after number, they are screaming for you. And it is validating for me as a gay actor, being a gay character on a stage, to have that kind of accolade, not just for me, but for the community that I'm serving, to represent these archetypes and to show, as Shakespeare said, hold the mirror to the world and show the audience themselves. It felt really like the first time I had fulfilled my purpose. It's very moving to me at a time when you wake up and you read that the Kennedy Center is being taken to task for having shows with drag in it. And it makes you feel like if there was any time that Cats needs to be out and here, it's now. I can't wait to fight that fight for our community and for our audiences, because one of the best things about the show is that the dogs that came to see the show, and that's who we call our people who are not in our LGBTQIA2+.
Or allies.
We call them dogs. In the best sense of the word. They felt it too. They had an understanding of the celebration, that it's not like some cult are trying to indoctrinate you. It's a room full of people just serving joy and wanting to experience joy with whoever else is in the room and wants to be fierce with us. And so that for me was the most important part of what the audience gave to us and what we gave to them.
Love it. I want a round of applause on that because it's going to be It wouldn't be the Marquis died if we didn't talk about the Jellicle choice and have some fun with it. So I do have my Castle Jellicle Ball hat, and I want to have each of you pull a cat out of a hat, and then you're going to embrace the character, and I'm going to ask you some questions as if you are that cat. So pass it down, grab it.
But I'm not going to do any acting.
No acting.
Just to be clear.
You're good. All right, let's first share who you picked.
I got Bombala Bombalarina. Jamita.
Grisabella.
Rum Tum Tugger.
Magical man.
Okay. So the first question is, imagine you're not in the house that you all discussed, and you're starting your own house as your character. Who's the first person you're recruiting from the Jellicle cats?
Well, clearly the Rum Tum Tugger, because he wins his category. He's robbed in body, and as someone who is supposed to win 2 trophies, we need him with us in the house because he's serving all of that goodness.
My choice is Mr. Mistopheles, because Mr. Mistopheles is a wild card. When they come to the ball, they sweep, but you don't know which ball they're going to attend. So that's
I'm Rum Tum Tugger, and I want the host of The Wrong Cat Died to be in my house.
I would say Tomo Brutus, because he's a firehouse, and also like during the production too, he was my right hand man. So it's like we go hand in hand. He definitely be with me.
Okay. Which category that you didn't walk that you wanted to walk or you couldn't walk? As there. Oh yeah. As Bob yeah. You can answer as Tugger too if you want. Embrace your cats. You go first.
we don't have, because it would be Vogue Femme, but we don't have Vogue Femme. We have old
Victoria.
women.
It could be
Victoria, yeah. Okay, so Vogue Femme would be Grisabella's second category, besides face.
Rum Tum Tuggers would be sex.
Tens across the board.
I would say labels, because I feel like I dress nice. But I feel like I'm always feeling the look wherever I go. So people are always like, "Oh my God, you look this, you look that. Where do you go? Where do you go?" I'm like, "Girl, I just thrift shop." So if I really were to pull out on some labels, like y'all wouldn't know what to do with me.
I'm gonna have to say body, because Bombalarina is serving like body the whole show, but didn't walk that category unless she was on for bust up the Joe. And she serves, so it would have to be body.
What's one relationship with another cat that the audience probably didn't pick up on that your characters embraced?
Rum Tum Tugger. Oh. Okay, so actually, I don't know that people know that Bomb, you may have seen it in the Rum Tum Tugger song, has a thing for Rum Tum Tugger that didn't go well. And then subsequently, Demeter is interested, and Bomb is not for that. And so there are a lot of times when Tugger's doing body or when he's doing, realness, or even when I'm just on the side, or he's just on the side, that Demeter might come over and we might have a key, and then Bomb Millerine is like, no, and grabs Demeter and pulls her away. So if you haven't seen that in the show, that happens quite a bit. I'm not allowed to, Rum Tum Tugger is not allowed to be friends with us.
Grisabella and Gus is the pairing. And actually was that way in the production. The Junior would often tell us that, I don't know if they're the ones that took Grisabella in, or at one point in time they both were like, if you lined up all their trophies at one point in time, they had the same amount. So Gus would say he's the one that should have been the choice. Junior said something to that effect at one point in time, but yeah, that's the relationship between the two of them.
I would say Tugger and Grisabella, because Tugger is the first one to notice that Grisabella has entered the room. So I think there's an interesting backstory there.
Come on, director.
I'll say for me, because I feel like my character was really everywhere. But also I'm tall, so it's I'm not able to not be seen. So I feel like most of my relationships that I had with everyone were presented full face. But as far as, I feel like that too. I was everywhere, so I wouldn't be able to find a relationship that I could even pinpoint myself, because other than me and Rum Tum Tugger, but we're also visible as well. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's the most visible.
Yeah.
Okay, defend why your character should be the Jellicle choice.
I'll go first. I've actually talked to quite a few people about this. I'm well, first of all, I'm magical Mr. Mistopheles. I bring Old Deuteronomy back. So without me, there wouldn't be, you wouldn't be able to make the Jellicle choice. But I also thought, I was well, if I were to die, then it's and go away to another realm, and something goes wrong, then my magic won't be able to make the things right. So I was I can stay right here. I'm not ready to go to the heavy side area yet.
Tugger, how are you defending Tugger?
It's so hard to defend Tugger when Tugger's in the room to defend himself.
You can phone a friend here.
Hey, Sydney, how would you defend Tugger?
Tugger makes an excellent Jellicle choice because he is the facilitator of the group. He's the calm in the storm. He doesn't let a lot, realness is all about masking anything that's happening, any emotions. You get up there, if you watch videos of realness, and so that is that calm presence in the end of labels that facilitates Mistopheles coming and Deuteronomy being saved. It's right here. That's who comes up with that, because he's the silent leader who lets all the shenanigans happen, is okay even if the directors are going to decide that he's the only one who gets chopped in the whole show. It's fine. I can handle it. And that kind of calm acceptance, yet still being able to run things behind the scenes is what we need in our Jellicle choice right now.
Okay.
Too loud.
Okay.
And then as Bam and Demeter, have you heard us sing? Because the first time I, as Tugger, ever heard Grisabella, the Glamour Cat even, them singing in those harmonies in rehearsal, I was like, where is this voice? How did you find them? And a lot of our show, a lot of being a Jellicle cat is about these spells and these incantations that we weave, and we use our voices to do that. And there ain't two voices more stunning than Bam and Demeter. They are the sirens of our show, and therefore, the Jellicle choice.
This goes against my show to allow this, but I'm going to let you defend Grisabella.
Absolutely. I wrote Second Chances title. Full stop. I think Grisabella, because she represents second chances. She was fab in her prime and convinced herself that she was old news, but yet the path that she trotted back in her time is what inspired the new generation in our production, specifically Bam and Syllaba. They're like the next generation that were influenced by all that she had done before. So I think, to celebrate all that she had done and to let her know that she's still fab and inspiring a new generation, that's why she's the choice. She is the choice.
Hold up, we have a few minutes for audience questions. Start with Malcolm.
Hi. Oh, sorry. So, I was incredibly honored, I had the distinct honor of seeing Cats and Jellicle Ball at the Perlman on June 21st. Yes, I remember the exact date because I loved it that much. And what is there to say about it? Extended 3 times, ended up on several top 10 lists of 24, just won an Obie Award. So. And I want to go back to what Sydney was saying, that if there's any point, if there's a time we need Cats and Jellicle Ball, it's right now. So, with all that being said, my question for you is, what do you think the future of Cats the Jellicle Ball is going to look like? And does it, I don't know, probably, just speculation of rumors, but I don't want to, if it probably includes a possible transfer of the runway to Broadway? I mean, most of us are wondering, like, but no.
It's coming home.
Bill? We.
I know it's probably, you're gonna have to hit some like NDAs, but like anything you could.
What I can say is we all want the Jellicle Ball to have a longer life, and we're working really hard to try to make sure that it has a longer life.
As a child actor, well, way former child actor from London, based here now as a member of the media and also a vocal coach. I just want to mention to Bill, before I mention what I saw about Cats, I just made some notes that I agree with you 110% about Andrew Lloyd Webber. And I was lucky to see Sunset in London and now here. And it's amazing how Jamie Lloyd has recreated a revision Broadway and West End shows in a way that's never been done before. And I see the same as this gentleman just said about Cats. I can see that there could be certainly a future, especially if Jamie Lloyd gets involved. He's got the most amazing vision, as I'm sure you have, Bill. But Starlight Express was another example. And I remember seeing Elaine Page create the role of Grisabella back in the day in London. Judi Dench was going to play it, but did not. And I would like to congratulate you all, basically, on doing such a great job. And I do hope that you, Bill, and your collective team will continue down this great white way road. Thank you.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. If you could take home any one costume from the Jellicle Ball and put it in your closet, which one would you take home?
I have it. By equity rules, anything you wear on your direct skin is yours to take. So I guess that part doesn't count. And of course, we're talking about the Tugger Jock, and which was recently won a award for being one of the best gay moments of 2024. Not me. The Jock is one of the best gay right moments of 2024. I am just the vessel. So if it's not the Jock, then I'm gonna have to say of my costume, it's that fur coat. Oh my God! Like it's amazing.
Mine is Ancient Cat, is the wings, and the I cried when I was shocked. I didn't think it was gonna hit me like that, but I was in tears. When we opened the wings, I was like, oh, good grief. Oh my God. Yeah, it was incredible.
Same.
Yeah, so good.
I would say, of course, my incredible, amazing runway look, especially that crown. I kept telling them, after every time, I was like, just make sure y'all be looking for that crown at the end of this production. Like, just be going, but no, I really love that outfit, and then the fur coat, well, the fur coat, like, wasn't as heavy as I thought it was gonna be. It's a little weighted, but it's like, it felt like a weighted blanket on me since it's a lot of body, it's a lot of bones. Yeah, no, because those crystals and the way it just glistened on stage, like, I couldn't take it. I was like, I don't know. This is like a dream come true. Like, just even wearing something like that on my body, like, oh my God, I want to get in it now.
Actually.
Thank you all for being here. This was so fun. Thank you all.